Hey guys, welcome back. I am Red, and this is a Godfall Void not so final build. It's a bit late. I know there's others out there, but this one is based on 2 weeks of grind. So everything is level 5 almost, apart from one item, which I'll fix later on. But generally, if you want to put other elements in, it'll work. But you won't get so much DPS out of it, but you can put any void weapon in, any void weapons in that you want, and you'll get all the benefits from it. Let me just remove my face from here. So take a screenshot of that if you want, and then take a screenshot of that, and then we'll go back into the game. Let me just jump over. Sorry if there's a bit of flickering. Just jump over to my skills here. You can take a screenshot of that as you want, as well if you want. The skills are not so important because the skills are generally based around your playstyle. 1 point in polarity attack is pretty cool though, and I'll show you why in a second. Okay, so for gear, we are running for the primary Draskull's Legacy, which gives us a Blessing of Luck and a Blessing of Infusion on both our North and our South techniques. Or if you go over to the Codex and you go to Gameplay and click on Blessings, you'll see that there are actually 4 blessings: Power, Endurance, Luck and Infusion. So that sword alone gives us 2 of those 4 blessings, and I believe that they are 10% each, so that's an extra 10% crit chance and an extra 10% to inflict an ailment. And because this is void, it gives us the curse ailment. Now there is, if I go back, you'll see that our base ailment chance is 8%, but our curse is 14%. So with that extra 10% from the Southern technique, right? Yeah, that takes us up to 24. And I believe there's a base on the weapon itself as well, and I think it's around 10% because I'm getting curse off once every 4 hits, 3 to 4 hits. So most enemies that you hit, the bosses are a little bit different because I think they have some resist as well. So yeah, so that's pretty good. Luck and infusion from that. I've got some Soul Shatter build up, some weak point damage, chance to inflict curse, critical hit chance. All those secondaries are pretty good. And then on to the second weapon, I'm using the Darkstar Crusher Legendary Warhammer, and this provides a time bubble for about 30 seconds, and it's not quite level 5 yet. I'm going to put some crit chance on her, but Soul Shatter, critical hit chance, weak point damage, it's all good. And this weapon, just fucking awesome. It for bosses it's amazing, and the tower is great, and I think I had it at level 10, and even when I got to level 50 I was still using my level 10 one until I found the level 51. So we jump to the hammer, we spam the Southern technique twice, get the bubble up, then go back to the sword, and we just work away at the sword, or primary, whatever one you want to use. You want to use pole armor or dual wield, it's up to you. So yeah, great weapon. For the amulet, we are using the Sunsteel's Crest, and this drains the enemy strength whenever you hit a cursed enemy. Drained enemies deal less damage, and your damage is increased for 20 seconds. 5% crit hit chance, 20% critical hit damage, 5% to all resist, and 90% water resistance. Those resistances are fine. I don't mind resistances. You actually need them in the tower a little bit, because running around with 0 gets you into all kinds of trouble. So that's okay. It's pretty good. For the charm, we are running the Lunar Token, which gives us an extra 8% critical hit chance, and another 6 and another 5. I'll come to the crits in a minute. And 7% weapon technique charge speed. Not too fussed about the charge speed. I wouldn't mind something else, but that's fine. And then for the ring, we are running the Eye of the Dragon, which when you defeat a cursed enemy, you gain 282 over health, which is okay in the tower especially, and your over health no longer degenerates. Now, if you don't know, the over health is a little green bar above your main health that you build up with an augment, which I'll get to soon. And what this means is, not so much for the bosses, but within the tower, when you're moving from the center into the other room, your over health won't degenerate, because obviously we don't want to lose that HP pool. So it's pretty good for that. If I could find this over health on another ring without the cursed enemy over health gain, I probably would go for that. The secondaries, 21 fire resistance is good, 20% void resistance is good. Void damage, I probably would change that as well, and 27% damage to cursed enemies is fine. It's all good. It's all good. For the Ring of the Worthy, now I need to change this ring because its primary gains the Blessing of Luck, but I'm gaining the Blessing of Luck from the sword, so that's no longer necessary. But because the secondaries are so good, I haven't found anything yet that I'm kind of going to swap out for. 20% weapon technique damage to cursed enemies, weak point damage, weapon technique damage. Awesome. For the Lifestone, we are using Archeon's Tear. I think that's Tear, could be Tear. 34% critical hit chance plus critical hit damage, Soul Shatter build up, weapon technique damage, and another 17% critical hit chance, which is awesome, and I'll come on to that in a second. Messer's Banderole is our banner, 28% critical hit chance, hit damage, more hit chance, Soul Shatter build up, weapon technique damage, and critical hit damage. Okay, so basically with our base of 45% from those 6 items, if we plonk our banner down, our banner gives us 28% plus 11%, which is 39, right? Have we got that right? 28, 38, 39, yeah. So that gives us 39 on top of our 45 base. That takes us up to 84%, and then with the Blessing of Luck from the Northern Technique, that takes us up to, I believe, 94% crit hit chance with the banner. With the banners down and you need to use a Life Stone, the 34% plus the 12%, that takes us up to 46, plus the 5 takes us up to 51. With the 51% from the 10 seconds of the Life Stone on top of the 45 we got, takes us up to 96%. So we kind of run it, if we base, it's 45% crit hit chance, but if we've got a banner or we're using Life Stone, we're back into the 90 to 100% range. Well, actually, obviously with the tier, it's 96% plus the 10% from the Northern Technique, so it takes us over 100%. It's exactly what we want. Yeah, and that is that. The attributes are explanatory: 3000 might, 1700 spirit, 2.5k vitality. You could drop that down a little bit, but we'll look at the augments in a second, and that's how you're going to do that. Okay, so for our augments, I think I'll start on the right. Do the might ones first. We have gain 65 over health when you perform a critical hit. Now this is the only way we're going to get over health. There are one or two others, but this is the general way. With dual wield, just spot on. Every time you hit, you get a critical hit, you're gaining 65 HP. You can actually see your over health bar. Don't forget there's over health and there's health. You see this doesn't affect health, mind, it's just over health. You can see over health bar like going up. With long swords it's grand, with pole arms and other big weapons not so much. I put 21% weapon technique on and 22% weapon technique on top of that as well. I don't think there's a cap on weapon technique damage, so I hope not, because I put a lot of this stuff on. I don't think there is. Yeah, so for 5 points, pretty good augment. Our next one is Twilight Bloom. 79% weapon technique damage if at least 2 adjacent augments are red, which they are. I've got 21% polarity attack damage as a secondary. I didn't really want that, but that's the one I was given. I put some Soul Shatter build up on it, and I put another 20% weapon technique damage, and that's fine. A lot of weapon technique damage. For the next one, I've got Sacred Flame. I haven't got this up to level 5 because I don't like the secondaries on it. So as soon as I find another Sacred Flame, I'll swap them out. I'm not 100% sure that this the adjacent augments grant an additional 70% might. I'm not 100% sure it actually works. I need to do some testing. So have a little look in the comments section. You know, if this video is like a week or so old, more than a week old, and maybe after I did some testing I can come back to you. I might swap it out for something else. For our last might augment, we have Paradise, plus 22% weapon technique, charge speed for 10 seconds whenever we form a critical hit. It's pretty much all the time. So you got 22% weapon technique charge speed for that. And I put some weapon technique damage buffs on top of that as well. And for, I think it's our only one, right? Yeah, these are wrong. I'll swap these out now. We've got Primal Energy, gains 175 over health when you use your Lifestone. It's okay, it has its uses, but trying to find another 5-point spirit item which kind of fits, they're not so good. Plus 27% damage to cursed enemies. I might swap that out to something else a little less generic, and 84 might on top of that. You can't put spirit buffs on top of a spirit item, so I would have preferred spirit because our spirit is lacking a little bit, because the spirit obviously affects your north and your south technique. Let's go down to the vitality. Whenever you are hit, your next attack deals 26% more damage. That's what it says on the box. 32% damage to cursed enemies. That's the one I was given. I prefer something else if I find another one that doesn't have cursed enemies. I want to get away from the whole curse thing, because I would like to swap out, say, I slowly make the transition to a more generic build where I'm not stuck with Void. But at the minute this is all about Void. So plus 6% wall resistances, it's good. And then if you move across the glacial wall, gain a blessing of endurance whenever you parry an enemy. 20% water resist, void resist, another 5% to all resistances. So I have put quite a bit of resistances in here, so it's kind of a tanky guy. It does really well. I mean, I did the tower and I got to the point where I was falling asleep and I couldn't go on anymore. It's like 40 odd or something. I wasn't having any problems. So getting back to it, evisceration. This is another might, gain a blessing of power whenever you perform a critical hit. Awesome. And then with the blessing of endurance. Now with the blessing of endurance and the blessing of power and the blessing of luck and the blessing of infusion, those 4 blessings are covered. So basically block, north technique, south technique, get a crit in all our business, and you run in all 4 of the blessings, which is brilliant. You notice in some of my videos the blessings are always there, a 10% buff on everything all the time. That's really cool. And of course that takes our ailments up to about 24% as well, plus the base I think is around 30% like I said. Let's go back. I got some polarity attack bonus damage on top of that. I prefer not to have that. I would like to get rid of that. 20% weak point damage is fine, and 23% weapon technique damage is fine. And then lastly we got force barrier, which gives, when you're above 50% over health, your attacks cannot be interrupted. I put some physical resistance on, 29% damage to breached enemies. I would like to get that, and I put some spirit on it. This force barrier is really good against bosses. If you can manage to get your over health up to about 50%, obviously anything above that, your attacks don't become interrupted. So those kind of bosses that are constantly knocking on your ass, being a bit of a pain, you can get away with it with not being knocked down. But what I have noticed is there's a bit of a gap in between your weapon attacks. If they hit you during that gap, you, no matter how much over health you have, they'll still pull you on your ass. So weapons like the big weapons like the pole arms do really well, but then like the dual wield, because there's gaps all the time in between your attacks, you do tend to get knocked on your ass. With the sword it's okay, little gaps, but you kind of spam out and use your closers, and those attacks are not interrupted. Pretty good. It's really good. So this is the build for the bosses. Now if I was going to the tower, did I cover that? Let's just go back to the gear. If I was going to the tower, I do like to run the Amulet of the Betrayer, and what this does is, it says if you would be reduced to 0 health, instead remain at 1 health for 5 and become invulnerable for 5 seconds. It's pretty, if you feel comfortable in the tower, then don't worry about it too much, obviously because you're losing a bit DPS when you swap to this. But sometimes if you run in with low resists, sometimes if you're getting tired or one of those electric air damage things hits you and you're not paying attention, you can just wipe you out in seconds. So this is pretty good for keeping your lives in the tower if you plan on doing a long run. And then for the other build, for the augments, I do put in the 30-point changes to that. The one we had in earlier. What is it? It's that one. I do put in Sunburst, the 30-point Sunburst, and whenever you hit an enemy, restore 2 health for every 20 vitality. Now if you put that in there, I can't at the minute because I don't have the points. You have to reduce this one to a 5-point vitality. Let's just do that, just to show you. Oops, that was 15. There's a 5 one there. So stick whatever one you want in there. I think there's a couple of parry ones which are kind of good. And where did it go? There it is. So as you can see, it's giving me 30 vitality back for every hit that I do. Now there's over health and there's health, but this might this augment you, this focus, it only gives you over health on your critical hits, and this one gives you health on your health bar. So both your health bars are covered with that augment, and I swap to that when I go into the tower, because obviously I don't. It's the only way to get your health bar up, apart from you obviously using your stones or using your what do you call it, the life stones. If you're happy enough using life stones, which is fine anyway, because obviously you're getting the crit chance from that, then don't worry about it too much. But I find it kind of handy. So there it is. I think we covered everything pretty much. Don't think there's. I'm having a hard time finding void damage dual blades. So if you guys have found one, let me know, because I'm starting to think that they don't exist, which is kind of upsetting. But I think that eventually what I'll do is I'll start changing this build slowly, and I'll make it generic so that you can put any weapon in there. I'll shy away from the curse and the void damage stuff, and I'll probably put her into critical hit damage and weapon damage, maybe something like that. So because I don't like being restricted to for a build to have just, you know, you can only put void weapons in there. I don't like that. I want to be able to change out. I want to put some fire weapons in there and stuff like that. So yeah, so keep your eyes open for that. If you've seen anything that you don't like, or you think I'm talking shit, let me know, and maybe I'll listen to you. See ya.